But here's the kicker. Here's the big problem. They have a terrible record against Inter. As much as I love Atalanta, as good as they've been, they lost 7 times in a row to Inter. Inter has their number. They haven't beaten them since 2018. But what better moment than Sunday?
Marco, can't wait for this game, especially bearing in mind the title race and how exciting that is at the moment.
Absolutely. We got the best title race in Europe. Nobody can predict who's going to win this Serie A season. There's been 6 different teams in first place at one point. It's never happened before. So it's a record-breaking season. And every single week, we are on our CBS coverage on Serie A. And everybody just keeps flipping on who's going to win. One week it's Napoli. The next week, all right, Inter's going to run away with it. And then Atalanta, after their performance last week against Juventus, all of a sudden have thrown themselves once again into the mix. So Sunday's going to decide a lot, I think.
Marco, no one can predict except you. You're our expert. That's why you're
Easy.
here.
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh. Okay. We won't ask you to predict who's going to win, but how about we ask you to predict the starting lineups? Can you do that for us?
Well, it's not going to be me that predicts. I got Scudetto dello Sports right in front of me, so let me put it out there. I'm an honest guy. It's pretty much what you'd expect. For Inter, it's one of those moments where they're dealing with a lot of injuries. But the good news is Lautaro and Thuram are expected to start. Finally, that duo will be back together. Thuram was dealing with injuries, and then Lautaro as well. He rested against Feyenoord. The big loss is going to be Di Marco, who's still not fit to come back. But the remarkable thing about this Inter side is that Alessandro Bastoni, who for me is the most versatile center back in the world, he's going to play as a left wing back, and he doesn't look out of place. He looks phenomenal there. You see Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who's taking the free kick, taking the penalty kick there. He's also back into the 11. So it's starting to become their best teams. For Atalanta as well. Oh, there we go. You guys got the exact screenshot that I'm looking for right in front of me.
As if by magic.
Yeah, exactly. So it's great to see the teams finally getting back into their best form, especially for Atalanta, who is dealing with their injuries. And now, besides Posch, they're not really missing anyone. Matteo Retegui has been on fire, 22 goals this season. And Lookman's been a big story because of all the controversy with Gasperini. But last week, after he was subbed off, he gave a hug to Gasperini, and Gasperini even said in his post-match interview, I'm going to make Lookman the captain one day this season, one match. So it seems like it's all good, and finally the love is back between those two, and they're going to absolutely need it if they want to live that dream of the Scudetto.
My favorite thing to look at, Marco, is matchup, whether it's 1v1 battles or even like partnerships of players. When you looked at those projected lineups, was there a 1v1 matchup that stood out to you that we need to keep our eye on?
Well, so Acerbi, who the center back of Inter, he loves battling a big number 9. We've seen him pocket Haaland on multiple occasions. He just loves that duo. So I want to see, how does he match up with Matteo Retegui, who Matteo Retegui's been great at finding the spaces, reading plays. He's been on absolute fire, scoring in the big matches. But there's another one, and if you told me this a couple months ago, I would have called you crazy, but I got to give credit where it's due. Zappacosta for Atalanta. Again, not a name that really would excite you, but he's been remarkable. He's on an incredible form. I was just looking at a stat that only Hakimi and Grimaldo are the wingbacks or defenders that are involved in more goals and assists in all of Europe. So I want to see what he could do on that left side. There was a moment last week where him and the center back Kolasinac linked up on the goal against Juventus. So there's so many top players in this matchup that you could pretty much pick out anyone, but those would be the two that I'm most interested in.
Marco, staying on Atalanta, big game. Could a win here be a catalyst to maybe going towards the title?
Honestly, I've counted out Atalanta so many different times, and it's not, I love Atalanta. They're the team that probably fills me with the most joy to be an Italian because of the way they go about their business. They play a very exciting style of football. Both of these teams are pretty similar. They both have the most goals in Serie A. They're tied on most goals. The reason why I counted them out is because you look at sometimes in the small games. Against Cagliari, they drew 0-0. Against Venezia, they drew 0-0. And those were the moments that I counted them out. And then they come and they put on a humiliation against Juventus. They absolutely embarrassed Juventus and knocked them out of the race. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, all right, Atalanta's back. But here's the kicker. Here's the big problem. They have a terrible record against Inter. As much as I love Atalanta, as good as they've been, they lost 7 times in a row to Inter. Inter has their number. They haven't beaten them since 2018. But what better moment than Sunday to finally overcome this hurdle, overcome the team that's been beating you. They're out of the rest of the competition, so they have nothing else to worry about. They're out of the Champions League. And it's kind of like a final dance, the last dance of Gasperini. We know he's not going to stay at this club much longer. For a lot of this group, they'll probably be dismantled after this summer. So can you imagine if you win this game and you go on and grab the Scudetto? It would be the first time in the club's history to win a Scudetto. And when you look at the way that Inter and Napoli have been, it's not like they've got their hands on it like Nigel Real-Coker lifting the trophy.
And Gato
in a lot of moments. So listen, it's right there for the taking, but you got to win on Sunday.
Yeah.
So you expecting lots of goals then in this game?
Ideally, yes, I would expect it. Both teams have been better defensively than I thought as well. Both extremely similar, especially Atalanta's goal ratio. At times, they usually got hurt by conceding too many goals. And now they've kept a really good clean sheet. So I've been impressed in that manner, and they certainly have the firepower to do it. I mean, I didn't even get to mention Charles de Catalara yet, who's also been on fire. Another player who, it seems like every player that goes to Atalanta just gets reborn under Gianpiero Gasperini. So there should be. But again, this is an Inter side that in the tough moments, in the big games, has not also shown up. Against Atalanta, they always do. But against Milan, against Napoli, and against Juventus, all three of those teams, they haven't beaten them once. So those high-pressure moments, Inzaghi's team has not always stepped up to the plate.
All right, Marco, we need it. We need a scoreline prediction. You have to give it to us.
Come on.
You've teased us with all this great knowledge and info. Who do you think's going to win, and what's the scoreline?
My heart wants Atalanta to get a result because it will be an even better title race. But my brain, everything is saying that it has to be an Inter win. Also because Atalanta at home has not been a fortress for them. They haven't won at home in league play in 2025. So if they want to make a statement and overcome this hurdle and really want to be the Scudetto challenger, you need to get a result in this game. And a win would really do that. But I think this Inter side, we've been kind of harsh on Inter, I have to say. They're still alive in all the competitions. While they haven't run away with the title, I think that just shows how competitive the Serie A has been. And they're a machine. When they want to win, when they really put their foot on the pedal, there's almost no stopping them. So I think we'll see another statement here from Inter.
Okay, so you didn't give us any goals or any scoreline.
Any prediction?
Marco. Is a draw enough, potentially, for Atalanta to continue to compete?
Atalanta have a tough schedule coming up. They have a very tough schedule, but as I noted before, they've almost slipped up more in the smaller games, in the smaller matchups like Cagliari and Venezia, than they have against the big teams where they tend to get the result. I think a draw would keep them in the conversation, but it would not be anything for them to say, yes, they're going to go on and win the Scudetto. If they would win, all of a sudden the narrative changes, at least for me. And I would look at them and Napoli as the ones to go on and do it. And then you have to see if Inter start making those calculations on, should we put more focus in on the Champions League? We also have the Coppa Italia to play 2 games against our crosstown rivals, Milan. So I would say a draw keeps them in the conversation. It doesn't knock them out. But a win would really solidify that they're challengers.
And still no scoreline.
Well, it's all to play for.
Am I a magician?
You're the expert, Marco.
All right, here. I'm gonna give you a word in Italian. Scaramanzia. You know what that means? That means superstitions. You can't give us a prediction.
It's tough to give a prediction on this one.
Fine.
2-0
We'll
Inter.
let you slide this time, Marco.
2-0 Inter. You happy?
Oh, we gave up 2-0 Inter.
We had to push.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, everyone. Well done. We finally got there. That is going to be a huge game. Coverage starts at 3 o'clock on Sunday. Thank you, Marco, very much for your time. Enjoy the game, and let's see who comes out on top.